Under my plan for the economy, we've made extraordinary progress. And we put America in a position to tackle a worldwide problem that's worse everywhere but here: inflation. It's sapping the strength of a lot of families. I grew up in a household not far from here, Claymont and Wilmington, where the price of a gallon of gasoline went up was a conversation at the dinner table. It mattered. It mattered to my working family. It mattered if the price of food went up. The problem is, Republicans in Congress are doing everything they can to stop my plans to bring down costs on ordinary families. That's why my plan is not finished and why the results aren't finished either. Jobs are back, but prices are still too high. COVID is down, but gas prices are up. Our work isn't done. But here's the deal. America still has a choice to make. A choice between a government by the few, for the few, or a government for all of us. Democracy for all of us, an economy where all of us have a fair shot and a chance to earn our place in the economy. My plan is simple. First, I'm doing everything in my power to blunt Putin's gas price hike. Just since he invaded Ukraine, it's gone up $1.74 a gallon because of nothing else but that. So I have a plan to bring down the cost of gas and food. It's going to take time, but let the world coordinate the largest release, what I've been able to do, the largest release of oil from the global fund in history. 1 million barrels a day, and 240 million barrels to boost global supply while I convinced other nations to join us, to keep prices from rising even more. Second, we're to work bring down gas and food prices. We can save families money and other items. We can change the dynamic of middle-class families. Look, give them a little breathing room, my dad said. You heard me say that before, but imagine. What most middle-class and working-class families do is they look at that monthly bill they have on everything. The rent or the mortgage, the cost of maintaining the car, the food, everything. So if portions of that go up, one of the ways to deal with inflation for families is bring the other costs down. For example, 200,000 people with type 1 diabetes are paying up to $1,000 a month for insulin. We can make sure they pay no more than $35 a month. By that, and by the way, drug companies will still do very well. It'll cost them $10 to develop that insulin. So they're making 3.5 times their cost. My plan gives Medicare the power to negotiate with the pharmaceutical companies, just like the Veterans Administration does. Bring down the average cost of prescription drugs is a gigantic way. It really does. It affects the total amount of money you got to write out of that checkbook. So gas is up and food is up, which we're going to get down come hell or high water. But there's other things we can do beyond getting the price of insulin down to $35 a month. Imagine the difference it could make. Imagine the difference it could make if, in fact, you had other things I've been proposing. Just imagine if you're in a situation where you're going to able to be in a position where pay for preschool for kids that are 3 and 4 years old, increasing exponentially their possibility of going out no matter what kind of family they come from in terms of educational standing, to raise the standard for people. Imagine what we could do for child care. In a city like Philadelphia, New York, the big city, Chicago, cost you $12,000 to $14,000 a month for child care. Well, they shouldn't have to pay more than 7% of your income for that. We could easily afford to do it. Look, we could do the same thing. But I really mean it. Think how that would change the families that you represent. Think how families change the circumstances for working class people. And by the way, we could do the same thing with utility bills. Congress would ease the cost of families today by passing the clean energy investments I proposed. Things like tax credit for business to produce cleaner energy. Tax cuts for families that make their homes more energy efficient, which is the way would mean a lot more jobs, by the way, for some folks in this room. I met with nearly a dozen of large CEOs of the largest 12 utility companies in America. They said if you pass that tax cut, that tax credit for modernizing the homes, winterizing, et cetera, we will guarantee we'll immediately lower the average cost of energy cost $500 a year for the average family. That'd help a lot. And in the long run, it would help finally make America truly energy independent. So in the future, American families no longer subject to the whims of dictators halfway around the world. We've laid out concrete plans for families to save money, not only prescription drugs and utility bills, but on rent and mortgage costs, high-speed internet. You guys out there are going to be putting on high-speed, and we've already got the money for it, billions of dollars. Well, guess what? When you get it done, it's going to lower the cost of high-speed internet for every family in America by $30 a month. That's a lot of money. And it's a lot of jobs. Look, we can do all this. All I'm asking is for the largest corporations and the wealthiest Americans to begin to pay their fair share in taxes. I happen to believe that no billionaire should be paying a lower tax rate than a teacher, a firefighter, an electrician, or a cop. Republicans have it all backwards. Their plan literally calls for increasing taxes on middle class and working people and cutting taxes on corporations and wealthy Americans. And I'm not talking about punishing anyone. Just pay your fair share. It's a matter of decency. It's a matter of dignity. It's a matter of fiscal responsibility. Look, I believe in bipartisanship, but I have no illusions about this Republican Party, the MAGA Party. I've been able to bring some Republicans along on parts of my plan. But the fact is, Republicans in Congress are still in the grip of the ultra-MAGA agenda. They still refuse to consider changing any part of the Trump tax cuts, which delivered massive windfalls to billionaires and others, and they weren't paid for. They still refuse to consider a minimum corporate tax of 15% minimum tax. They seem to think that the problem in America today is that working families aren't paying enough. Congressional Republican Senator Rick Scott of Florida, as my mother would say, God love him, he laid out a plan. I think you have it on your desks. I just took one page of that plan. Okay, this is published. It says this is just one of their ideas. All federal legislation sunsets in 5 years. If the law is worth keeping, Congress could pass it again. Now, guess what that is? Social Security. Not a joke. Social Security. Medicare. Medicaid. That's not a joke. Every 5 years will be put on the chopping block. Every 5 years. And if it's not reinstated by a vote in the Senate of a 60 or more, guess what? It automatically has got existence. That's what they're proposing. Unless the Congress affirmatively votes that bring them back into existence. Think about that. Social Security, you paid for your whole life. Medicare, Medicaid, not a joke. Really, ask yourself, how are you going to sleep at night knowing that every 5 years, Ted Cruz and the other ultra-MAGA Republicans are going to vote on whether you'll have Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid? It's unlikely they'll be able to wipe it out. But any one of you doubt for a second they'll find ways to cut benefits and programs in order to keep anything going? That's what this is about. They've always wanted to cut Social Security. They've always wanted to cut Medicare. They've always wanted to cut Medicaid. But if you have to start from scratch, the gentleman from Wisconsin, Senator Ron Johnson, is back at it again, trying to dismantle the Affordable Care Act. including its protections for pre-existing conditions. 100 million people have pre-existing conditions. The only reason the insurance company has to cover it is because of that law. And they're never going to stop going after it. So now, with the plan of Senator Scott trying to walk back, but it's clear, the last thing they want to see is workers with power in this country. The bottom line is this. I truly believe we've made extraordinary progress by laying a new foundation for our economy, which becomes clear once global inflation begins to recede. There's so much at stake. But the truth is, I've never been more optimistic about America than I am today.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.